Hello, you're watching Eye on Africa on France 24. I'm Clarisse Fortuné. Our top stories this Friday. D-Day has been decided. A two-day military meeting about Niger concludes with a plan. ECOWAS says its force is ready to intervene anytime the order is given. Few days before Zimbabwe heads to the polls amid accusations of crackdown on the opposition. And a South Africa without the ANC. That's the objective of this seven parties coalition bidding to unseat the ruling African National Congress in next year's election. Welcome to the program. ECOWAS forces ready to go anytime the order is given. That's the conclusion of the two-day military meeting about Niger. West African military chiefs discussed strategy for possible intervention and came up with a plan to restore democracy in a country, although no specific date was given.
Member states have signed up to certain obligations, which means they cede part of their sovereignty to the collective good, that is of ECOWAS. And I'm talking about their various national constitutions, which they must not flout and which the junta in Niger has flouted. All we are doing is to make sure that Niger gets back to rule-based governance in a sister country. We've already agreed and fine-tuned what will be required for the intervention. The strategic lift capacity, what the strategic objectives are, equipment needed, the commitment of member states, which was very, very, very encouraging. All member states of ECOWAS present here today have all committed elements. We are ready to go anytime the order is given. The D-Day is also decided, which we are not going to disclose.
And our correspondent, Justice Baidu, is in Accra. Good evening, Justice. Justice, take us through today's meeting.
So it's been a long day of deliberation of ECOWAS military chiefs, and what they've just come out with is a decision now that they say is the final steps that they've had to go through to ensure that they ready themselves for this intervention in Niger if they are called on. The next steps, they say, would be to present the report that they've gone through over the last 2 days to the bigger ECOWAS body for that consideration to be done. But according to them, they are still leaving all alternatives on the table and going through the mediation process. They did say that part of the things they've done today is actually to put together another mediation group that is expected to go into Niger beginning from tomorrow, which means that they are still open to all the available alternatives to bring this issue to a close. What they say is that their bigger alternative, their bigger objective is to restore democracy to Niger. And that is the option that they are leaving, the only option they are leaving to the junta in Niamey at the moment.
So is there a consensus within ECOWAS to intervene?
Well, according to the chief political affairs person who has been speaking here today, every member of the commission has committed to this decision to intervene when the need arises. We did ask him yesterday about Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea, and who were not here through yesterday and today. We know these countries have already said that they would be supporting Niger if in the instance that ECOWAS intervenes with its military. They said that these countries, 3 countries, are already under suspension per ECOWAS rules, and so it's the reason they are not here, and it's the reason that they wouldn't be a part of this intervention. But apart from these 3 countries, every other member country of ECOWAS has committed to this and have or indeed indicated that they have men and resources ready if they are called on.
Justice Baidu in Accra, thank you. And you just heard all alternatives are still on the table. Analysts say any intervention would be politically and militarily risky, especially for regional players like Nigeria and Ghana. Let's hear what people in Accra have to say.
African leaders is getting too much. At least we should go by the constitution.
Ghana shouldn't even try to involve in this. We are a peaceful country. We don't want any war or anything like that.
I have a brother who is a soldier, and I won't advise him to go on this mission. If our leaders think this is a good thing to do, they should do it themselves.
And now to South Africa. A coalition of 7 political parties has signed a pact in a bid to unseat the governing ANC in a 2024 election. The alliance is urging other parties to join them in a bid to secure enough votes. For the first time since democracy was installed in 1994, the African National Congress risks losing its parliamentary majority and therefore the presidency. This comes against a backdrop of growing discontent with corruption, an unprecedented energy crisis and high unemployment.
The foundation laid by this group over the past 3 months has laid the foundation upon which a new government can be built, one which is stable and that can address the pressing needs of all South Africans.
The 7 political parties in this charter have come together to keep the ANC out, keep the EFF out of power, and provide, importantly, a new alternative to rescue South Africa in 2024.
And this warning from UNICEF: children of the DRC are facing the worst cholera outbreak in 6 years. At least 31,000 suspected or confirmed cases have been recorded across the country, with the North Kivu province being one of the worst affected regions. Clémence Waller reports.
A deadly epidemic compounded by one of the African continent's worst displacement crises. With more than 30,000 cases reported across the country, the DRC is facing its biggest outbreak of cholera since 2017. According to the Ministry of Health, in the hardest-hit province of North Kivu, over 21,000 confirmed or suspected cases have been recorded, including more than 8,000 children under the age of 5. UNICEF is sounding the alarm.
If urgent action is not taken within the next months, there is a significant risk that the disease will spread to parts of the country that have not been affected for many years. There is also the danger it will continue to spread in displacement sites where systems are already overwhelmed and the population, especially children, is highly vulnerable to illness and potentially death.
Internally displaced persons camps are generally overcrowded and overloaded, making them ideal for cholera transmission. Families living in IDP camps across the provincial capital, Goma, face massive water and sanitation shortages.
When we first arrived at this site for displaced people, we had to fetch water from the lake. It was a long distance and the water was very dirty, with no aqua tabs to purify it.
In the Bulengo camp, the doctors work tirelessly to treat their patients.
Since this service was set up, we've received 2,359 cases, of which 2,349 were cured, and 10 have died. We used to have a lot of problems, but things have now stabilized.
Furthermore, UNICEF organizes courses to teach hygiene and how to purify water. They have also installed over 100 latrines and showers to sanitize the camp. According to the Congolese authorities, between 62 and 99% of households affected by cholera in North Kivu were families who had been displaced this year.
And Zimbabwe will be heading to the polls next Wednesday against the backdrop of one of the world's highest rates of inflation and accusations of crackdown on the opposition. Just a few days ago, police arrested 40 members of the leading opposition party for blocking traffic and disrupting order during a campaign event. Erin Marisa Bates reports.
Are you ready for a new life? After a loss in 2018, Nelson Chamisa, the most popular opposition leader, still aims to topple a party that's ruled Zimbabwe for over 43 years. His run was hard. Some 100 meetings were banned or disrupted by police, a sympathizer was killed, and supporters reported intimidation in rural areas.
And the people were singing in the morning, everybody going to vote for Chamisa is going to die and they're going to kill you.
We have fear. We can't wear these t-shirts freely.
Today, President Emmerson Mnangagwa is criticized much like his predecessor, Robert Mugabe. Civil society organizations in southern Africa cite the lack of freedom. Human Rights Watch issued a damning report in early August. Its title, "Crush Them Like Lice," a phrase Zimbabwe's vice president has used against the opposition.
We thought with President Mnangagwa there would have been a new dawn. But we saw with the violence in 2018 and the violence preceding this election that things do not seem any brighter. Our report concludes that the pre-election environment is not conducive for a free, fair and impartial election as per international and regional laws and standards.
As in previous polls, the Electoral Commission is suspected of being biased. The president nominates its members. Civil rights groups took issue with the electoral list, thousands of voters with similar names.
When we have registered voters with similar or almost similar details who purport to be the same person, we send their details to the Registrar General's office. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time.
More than 6.5 million Zimbabweans will head to the polls in this crucial vote. And as usual in Zimbabwe, the result will hinge on voters in rural areas.
And that's it for this edition. Thank you for watching Eye on Africa. Stay tuned for more news.